Hi, everybody. It's Eric from Study Notion. I'm joined today with Andrew Laliberte from the Pembroke area. And for those that don't know, Andy, that's roughly what, about an hour outside of Ottawa, like sort of
Yeah,
heading
about a
west?
hour northwest. Yeah.
Right on, right on. And you clarified for me this just a few minutes ago in terms of what you're working on these days. It's a lot of like GRC. Do you mind just sort of walking folks through what GRC stands for, how that works, or?
Yeah. So GRC is the coverall umbrella term for governance, risk, and compliance,
Mm-hmm.
which just means your business or your organization has certain cybersecurity rules to meet and standards to achieve,
Right, right.
and whatever program you're based on is going to assess you at that level. So a lot of people have heard of ISO or SOC
Mm-hmm.
as standards, and the ones I'm working on now are particularly are NIST standards, so National Institute of Science and Technology,
Okay.
or standards in technology. NIST, it's a big thing down south.
Yeah.
And our version as well. So CSE released our copy of the ITSP 10171, and it just means it's a set of controls and standards that a company will need to meet to be able to do business with the D&D or DoD.
Okay. Wow. So the 800-pound gorilla kind of swoops in, and you're just there to make sure that the people that are doing the things with the things aren't getting crushed by that gorilla, essentially.
That is the hope.
Okay.
It's been a lot of Wild Westiness, and right now, essentially, the best analogy I can come up with is that we are in the time period. Uh, it's like when health inspections showed up to restaurants for the
Mm.
first time.
Okay.
At some point, we didn't have food safety laws,
Right.
and then we realized, oh, this makes people sick. Okay, there's going to be inspections. You're going to have to make sure your kitchen is clean.
Hmm.
You disinfect everything properly, so you don't hurt people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're entering the same relative time period for cybersecurity.
Mm.
It's the 20s again, and we've got a lot of people getting sick and ransomware, and the F-35 plans, the hypersonic missile, the Sea Dragon, and I forget the name of the aircraft carrier, but three major platforms from the Americans got stolen and repurposed and built by the Chinese.
Hmm.
And so Congress got real big mad and said, hey, we're going to have a minimum standard.
Right.
And Canada, now that that's coming to effect down south, we've decided that we're going to carbon copy that and also bring up our own standard. And this helps us try and stay interoperable with the
Mm.
American defense industrial base.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So going back a little bit here, because you were in the forces for a while, and I believe you told me you did SIGs. So do you want to talk just a little bit about kind of like what you did in the military and maybe how a little bit of that relates to what you're doing nowadays, or?
Yeah, so at 18, I joined up with the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to get to RMC, but got the waiting list. And honestly, I think that worked out best for me because the SIG sergeant at the recruiting center called up and said, "Hey, man, have I got a job for you? You like camping? You like radios in your back? Come on, come hang out." And so it was interesting, but basic was really good for me.
Mm-hmm.
It really helped me socialize quickly and figure myself out and really come out of my shell. I was a very quiet kid. Uh, and that turned into, going to school for a couple of years, doing my summer courses, training with the reserves, doing the QL3, QL5, so journeyman, apprentice and journeyman radio courses.
Okay.
Spent a lot of time listening to like static on the HF radio and just, middle of the night, seeing if EW was trying to play with us.
Wow.
Good experiences, learned a lot of nifty stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that paid for schooling while I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I
Okay.
tried Carleton for electrical eng, realized I hated it. Like a lot of cool tech stuff, but the programmatics, the way they teach it,
Mm-hmm.
didn't. Uh, and so I tried. I stepped away, did some Class B for a bit, went and did support staff for a Pathfinder selection course, which was interesting.
Hmm.
I got to see a whole other side to the military and realized I'm probably not going to do that. But it was a very interesting educational experience. Um,
Cool.
from that, I got back to Ottawa, and my roommate at the time had just got a job with DLCSPM, or Director Land Command Support Project Management. Big engineering group in Ottawa. Big
Mm-hmm.
name, covers a whole lot of places money went.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but he was dealing with computers. And I was like, Anton, you don't know anything about computers. He's like, I know. And they still hired me. It's like, okay. It's like, are they hiring anyone else? Yeah, they got lots of positions. So I threw up my resume together, got my dress uniform, and showed up. And the interview basically stopped. Like it started and stopped with, "Hey, so what do you know about computers?" And I'm building my own my gaming computers, and I've done this. And it was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, don't worry about it." Okay, so you're gonna go see this person, and that was pretty much it. It's like, you know
Oh
how to use a
man.
computer, go get in there.
Yeah. Wow.
So I turned that, and that became the big focus of my uh, reserve career, essentially.
Hmm.
That turned into full-time Class B, over 180 days, the magic number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Suddenly you had modest benefits and healthcare. And they basically, our role was to be the in-service support team for the land command support system. So it's the command and control system the Army uses. So whenever all throughout Afghanistan, as it came together, because there was multiple, we didn't really have computers the way we know them now.
Hmm.
In 2007, in about a 9-month period, we went from a, you know, designed in the 80s, designed in the 70s, delivered in the 80s, deployed in the 90s computer system
Yeah.
running Windows and NT on these giant green briefcases where you crack open the front case, and that was the keyboard was built in. There's a giant trackball, looks like a pool ball, right? Like it's just
Hmm.
old chunky tech. We went from that to a full Windows Enterprise stack in 9 months, right? They just suddenly said, "Oh, we need to do these things,"
Hmm.
and that it was the fastest I've ever seen the CAF adapt to technology.
Wow.
Yeah. So our job, for our sins, was to learn how everything worked,
Okay.
because they'd realized the learning curve to take it. Someone like myself, who was like wasn't trained but was interested in computers, could take notes, and was motivated,
Yeah. Yeah.
was still about a 3-year learning curve to go from I don't know anything to you can send me out tomorrow to go fix Edmonton. Go.
Mm.
When the Reg Force guys would get in, they get posted every 2.5, 3 years, and so
Mm.
they weren't able to get anything out of them. By the time they were ready
Mm.
with all the training, they were gone again.
Yeah.
So it turned into this big problem. So they'd switched over to hiring Class Bs, and we could be there for 3, 5, 9 years.
Hmm.
And it was very common. A lot of people that are in Ottawa Tech now got their start going through the reserve side, through these engineering groups, and basically just being told, "Hey, here's a grab bag of problems. They're all yours now. Oh."
Your swag bag. Here you go.
I learned how to do a lot of rapid troubleshooting, a lot of how to, you know what you don't know, but you start building up really good habits,
Hmm.
right? You're learn how to go through all the easy problems first, try all the physical connections, and then start learning how to dig into the tech.
Yeah.
So I'm not a coder, but I've worked with enough code that I can generate little bits. This, like, prior to AI, that's made it a lot easier. But
Mm.
knowing how to take a script and modify it to do what it needs to do,
Yeah.
um, especially because there was a lot of moving parts on a system this large,
Hmm.
and the engineers didn't always get it right. Often they were working in a vacuum. Often the groups that should have talked to each other so that the end users, the soldiers in the field, should have told people what they needed, weren't even consulted.
Mm.
So people would just generate stuff they thought was what they should do because somebody in that group was a military from 10, 20 years ago. And I said, "Oh, we do it this way, do the thing."
Yeah.
And then that would just get thrown into the field. And then it was up to us working with the field users to actually massage it into something they could use for what they were doing now. Right. So there's a lot of that disconnected telephone game. So a couple years in, by about 2008, just before deployment, we were um, one of our main jobs was just trying to find people who needed to change things and convince them that they needed to do this.
Wow.
So we go talk to the users in the field. We get lots of notes, find out, okay, exactly what is your pain, what is happening, what's not happening.
Yeah.
Bring back to the engineers, and then essentially mount like psyops campaigns to like convince them that they needed to do these things. That this is your idea and it's going to be good.
Wow.
2008, we went out to Afghanistan, and this started a good 5 years of either getting ready to go over, being over, or coming back and getting ready for the next trip.
Mm.
Um, because the system was a complex network, uh, and it's not often necessarily mentioned, but the Canadian Forces has 3 different militaries, and they live in different places, and they do business differently.
Hmm.
But the
Hmm.
computer system that they were all going to be given only worked one way.
Hmm.
And so Valcartier would do business differently than Petawawa, which did differently than Edmonton. And so once one of them would fall onto the system, and they'd massage into whatever they wanted it to do.
Right.
When they ripped out, the next group would show up and go, "What the hell is this?
Mhm.
We don't recognize anything. We don't know what to do with this." And so we would get sent on these technical assistance visits
Okay.
where we deploy, and it was 18-hour days every day, no HLTA, no vacations,
Wow.
uh, no Sunday routine. You were there to work your face off as long as it took until it was all done,
Hmm.
and then we got the heck out.
Wow.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, so we show up, we just massive problem solving, but it was very interesting in a lot of ways. I got to see how everybody worked and lived. I got to
Mhm.
see how the tankers were doing anything in Massengar. We'd go out to the PRT and see what's going on. I loved watching the Chinooks. It's like a magical dancing school bus, right? It was just fantastic the way they could drop it into an alley, like with no room to spare,
Wow.
but very confidently drop in, drop people off, pick people up, and go.
I
Um,
don't think I've ever heard it referred to as a magical dancing school bus before. That's so cool.
to watch. And the chopper rides were possibly my favorite way of getting around because at least you could see out what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, if you catch around, okay, but like I greatly preferred that to crawling into a little metal box
Mm.
waiting to die. That was not my favorite part of things.
Wow.
The convoys, they were, but it took 13 hours to move 10K down the road to go do some tech work somewhere.
Wow.
That is it's a stressful day, and it's frustrating because it's not that you're doing anything, you're
Mm.
just sitting waiting for something to maybe happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
Yeah.
just eats away at you. But then we learned how to hijack the internal video systems of the carriers we're in and play movies, and everyone loved that,
Well, there
so
you go.
we're very popular.
You bring some tech savvy people along on a debt, and like, surprise, surprise, then all of a sudden all these little fringe things start showing up.
Well, one of the ways we got business done, like truly, like we'd have to go out and we'd have to convince people to let us do our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So we learned to start just bringing bribery with us. Like wherever we could go, it's contraband. It's like you want smokes, you want magazines, you want some chew. Afghanistan, we'd always bring a hard drive full of movies and TV shows and all kinds of stuff. Anything we get our hands on, and we fill terabytes full of data
Wow.
because that became like gold
Sure. Yeah.
overseas, right? Like, oh, hey, we need something from the Marines. Oh, okay, go get the hard drive. Hey guys, we need stuff. Like, oh, I don't know about that. I've got 200 gigs worth of movies here you probably haven't seen yet. And they're like, we'll have it ready by 4. Okay, cool. Right? And you leave it with them for a little bit. Although we learned very quickly that we would bring those hard drives with us
Mm-hmm.
and we were never going to bring them back.
No.
Because once they'd been around a little bit, people were helpful. And they would like, oh, I'll share all our music with you, or we'll share all our videos. And it very quickly turned into a whole lot of sketchy stuff.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
we learned that after a while that yep, that's tainted. We're just going to leave that at the base somewhere.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So doing a lot of that. We went over 2008, back 2009 for the next iteration of the system. 2008 wasn't so bad. We were just on Kandahar Airfield,
Mm-hmm.
just roaming around trying to make all the stuff work there. We were lucky enough that everyone had enough trained people out at the FOBs
Okay.
that we put together an information package and okay, steps like 0 to 100. Here's what you do, and we could send that out, and the local admins were able to do some of the work. So we didn't need to do road shows everywhere.
Right.
2009, when we went back, was a different story because we weren't just doing an upgrade, we weren't fixing things. It was a complete replacement in situ,
Okay.
which meant we had to do a lot of road moves, had to do a lot of chopper flights, had to move around everywhere, anywhere the system is,
Mm-hmm.
which is great because I got some real solid tech skills from that.
Mm-hmm.
When you show up to a server room, and it's a dirt floored closet in a fruit candy factory somewhere, and 2x4s to like stack between the servers, but they just put them between the servers, like 9 servers up. That's a lot of weight, and it's crushed the bottom server because it's all just going straight into the bottom chassis.
Oh my God.
So we had to see a lot of weird stuff like that. But it gave you a lot of stuff for comparison. So you come back to Ottawa doing tech here. It's like, oh, well, it's never that hard of a day. We're not rebuilding things from scratch, right? Like it gave me some perspective.
Wow.
Um,
Cool.
yeah, it was very interesting fixing all the problems that came up. And often the problems we were fixing that we'd find weren't what people said they were
Mm.
because the game of telephone, because the people diagnosing it don't actually know anything about technology. It'd filter back.
Yeah.
The entire purpose of the first tab we went on, we thought there was just a active directory issue, like
Okay.
some sort of basic uh, thing we're going to fix. We're going to be there for a couple of weeks. It'd be fine.
Yeah.
And what we found was the previous group, I won't name which brigade it was, but in their infinite wisdom had just created 5 primary domain controllers. A Windows never supposed to have one PDC. So every morning at a certain time, they would all vote on who got to hold the roles that day.
Oh wow.
And sometimes it was one of the servers out at a fob. And now the brains of your entire network is out at a remote site with a link that's maybe 2 megs on a good day. And the whole system would come crashing down as all requests had to go through this tiny pipe, and they hadn't realized what they'd done. So
Yeah.
we get there like, oh, that's no good. So that was a lot more work than we thought. But things like that would pop up.
Wow.
So you never knew exactly where you were going to get.
Hmm.
Um, but I learned a lot, and we did a lot of good work, and we kept the system running. The second time in 2009, we essentially had to take everything offline,
Hmm.
and the only reason they let us do that is because we very carefully took all the running live services, the chat. Pretty much the war was fought on chat at that point. Email was secondary, but like
Hmm.
the nine-liners and support and the message have to go across, right? Like someone gets into a tick, troops in contact, they'd call back on the radio, you get to the nearest fob, they would type into the system, and once they put it in the chat, they could immediately start spinning up support from the Rowan Hospital or air support, whatever was going on from Kandahar, because once it hit that digital system, the entire country was aware,
Hmm.
right? So it really sped things up. Uh,
Hmm. So it sounds like a lot of, you show up and you never know what you're going to get, and sort of just make the best of things with what you got. There
it
might
was
be.
always a grab bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
But we had a lot of good people, a lot of good problem solvers,
Hmm.
right? And one of the things that I will regret for the rest of my life is I don't have as many switched on, motivated people to work with as I did then.
Wow.
It,
Okay.
it was you don't know what you got till it's gone. Well,
Yeah.
I miss having that many switched on teammates, you know?
Wow. Okay. Yeah. 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 And so rolling this forward, then, like where you're at with your business today, one of the questions I like to ask folks, or I'm sort of getting into this mode of trying to ask people, was there sort of a magic moment when, like, it was was it a light bulb that came on where you said, oh my goodness, I've got to do this thing now and here off I go? Or getting into your new business, was it more of like a slow burn? Did it kind of go through a few iterations? Like, can you kind of walk through like what that looks like, or what that looked like for you rather?
Yeah, it was very much a slow burn. So my real, like the push to go take the uniform off
Mm-hmm.
was 2012. It was actually my audition for Thales Canada, who
Okay.
was a defense contractor who was at the time had the contract for this system. Um, that year, the chain command decided they're going to get rid of both the Class B positions because it was very popular
Mm-hmm.
in the politics that year to close Class Bs.
Okay.
Um, and so Thales Canada turned around and said, "Hey, you fools are the only ones that know how this thing works." And there's like 4 of us, so they just hired us. And so I left on a uniform on Friday. We had a nice little party down at Preston Street, and then came back in civvies on a Monday
Mm-hmm.
and logged back to my system and carried on for a while.
Wow.
And so that was a bit rough, but the initial go was go back over to Kabul and babysit the system for 5 months
As a
as a
contractor.
right. And it was a
Wow.
difference to go back over without a gun. There's no security duties. Stuff starts popping off, and I'll be over here, I guess, maybe
Wow.
the computer, hoping everything goes well. It was a little surreal. I kind of liked it though. It was nice. It let me focus more on the tech, and by then I'd really started to dig into that.
Mm-hmm.
These cool problems I love solving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and so that got me in the door at Thales Canada. And so I was an FSR field service rep for them for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, post Afghanistan around the 2014 mark, the appetite to run these programs had really kind of evaporated from the CAF. And so things kind of got shut down. A lot of the corporate knowledge evaporated.
Mm-hmm.
In later years, they would regret that. But at the time, it was very popular.
Of course.
And that got me a push to, so all the FSRs got laid off because now this billion-dollar program had been kiboshed.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did what corporate does. No ill will there. That is just what they do. That is their existence. And I had to learn, well, what am I going to do now? And so I started looking at contracts, and I stuck very close to what I'd known, right? So I went immediately back to the Army Network Operations Center, who was still doing some of this, because again, I was one of the only qualified people in the country to do these things. It was a very safe position.
Mm-hmm.
But as the years went on, and I went from that to other D&D groups, I started getting more and more dissatisfied with just the lack of things we were willing to accomplish. Hey, the problems are in front of us. And I went from being told, like, when we were in uniform and I was traveling as an in-service support guy, I had a credit card, like a black Amex, with a ridiculous limit. And I was just supposed to go fix things. So they got fixed. I just made it happen. And then I step into this role where now I'm notionally getting paid much, much more. But my job description narrowed, and they didn't really care if you fixed it or not. You told them what was wrong, and here's all the things we need to do. And then we go off to some sort of change management brouhaha, and you never hear about it again.
It goes into the void, never to be seen again.
It is the Ottawa way. Although, hey, with what I'm doing now, this is the era where that gets corrected, right? So a lot of the issues with lack of action, lack of preparation, tech systems not being up to snuff to play with ISAF partners or the Americans or whomever is changing rapidly. There is still a lot of work to do, but I have seen some of the good happen, right? People are really starting to pay attention. They really want to actually make some of these systems go. And so we're, with the new money being thrown at everything, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So you're cautiously optimistic is what you're saying.
Cautiously optimistic. We have a very small window, I'd say a couple years, to really get our industry in gear. Like, it's rubber meets road time. We've had a lot of talk, but this is the time now to, but actually start breaking ground. Go, if you want sovereign cloud, show me where you're digging your data center, right? The British MOD, Ministry of Defense, did a study in 2018 I thought was very, very poignant for us. And basically it said, all these cloud services are great, and you absolutely have to learn how to deliver military services like that. But you don't understand you're going to need your own cloud services run by your people in uniform. You haven't figured out what a battlefield looks like with your networks, right? You're not going to be able to depend on the standard infrastructure to deliver all this. You're going to have your own links. You're going to have your own people that know how to build it and run it and maintain it, because you cannot depend on literally anything else. So it's going to be, we're going to get there.
That's actually, it's in a way, and we're probably going down maybe a bit of a rabbit hole here, what you just said, but yeah, and I'm trying to just wrap my brain around it. So let me know if I'm off base here. If somebody says, well, hey, we have all these cloud providers that do all these fancy things, and they're all pretty much soup to nuts. Everything is just, it just works, right? You can train people on it. And then, of course, the issue then sort of comes down to, but infrastructure-wise, it's that company's infrastructure. Like, it's their stuff. And so anything ever happens, and if it does ever happen, and we're sort of dependent on it, now what? Because we're literally sitting here and the lights have gone out and we have no way to turn them back on or connect a generator or, to throw that kind of a euphemism at it, right? Versus having the pain of sort of building that up ourselves and taking all those best practices, incorporating them, and keeping current with as things are changing, because that's the other thing too, is that at the rate things change, technologies
you
move.
have to have a system that trains people and keeps them up to date, keeps your skills in tech in line with what is best and new.
Yes.
And that is a serious effort, which the CAF started to do during Afghanistan, because one of the only things that make change in Canada, from my perspective, is shame or violence. And we had a lot of both going on. So it was very easy for them to motivate the money and the resources to go do something.
Right.
When that backs off, typical, just, and it's every, it's nonpartisan.
Mm.
We very much want to be happy and lazy and just comfortable somewhere, right? And I can't blame them. That is the good life.
Mm-hmm.
But we are going to have to keep some pressure on ourselves to make sure we do bring ourselves up to that standard where we can deploy our own services on
Mm-hmm.
our own infrastructure. And as it maybe turns into a ball of fire, we have backups and we have other things to bring, right?
Yeah.
We need that resilience.
Mm-hmm.
In the tech cybersecurity world, they go through the CIA triangle, so confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Well, that's the availability piece.
Mm-hmm.
If there's EMPs going off and someone's jamming your satellites, all which is, like we just watched Ukraine in the last couple of years. We can see absolutely everything we will have to deal with in a pure fight,
Mm-hmm.
uh, let alone near peer. Um, it always makes me laugh because they talk about peer fights and near peer fights, and it's like, yeah, but you realize we're not there, right? Like that's Russia and China and the Americans fighting. We're below that. They don't like hearing that, but
Mm. It can become a very contentious issue depending on who you're talking to, and yeah, it's
yeah. But hey, we're gonna find out what they bring to the table in the next couple of years. We got a lot of spending happening,
mm-hmm.
lots going on. In that vein, so from the battle days of 2007, where we went from the old computers to the new stuff, like suddenly we have a real network. We had to start learning how to do all the ITSG 33 cybersecurity rules, right? This is the cybersecurity rules that government follows for their internal systems, right?
Mm.
You want to bring a software in to work on a government network, it goes through the SANA process, and that it's long and arduous the way we've been doing it, but Notion gives you an authority to operate, and then you can bring it in. So I started with all that. And now, with all these things going on, and the cybersecurity being more important than it's ever been, especially for our supply chains,
Yeah. Yeah.
they are being introduced with these new standards. Not new, but like new to us in the Canadian defense industrial base. And essentially, you're going to implement a control baseline called NIST 800-171. In Canada, it's ITSP 10-171. And it's 110 controls, which is like 320 assessment objectives. And you have to scope out the system you're going to use and apply your controls, and then do up enough documentation to be able to show someone, hey, we've done everything right. Here's how we give you assurance that we've protected the confidentiality of the government's data.
We've done our homework, essentially.
Right. And that was the rules for a long time. Not in Canada. We're literally just pivoting now to this, like having a standard across the board. Before it was very much individual contracts, if they thought about it, got requirements. But from the state side, since like 2015, 2016, the DFARS 7012 clause showed up in their contracts, and that said, hey, you need to do this. And since 2017, they very explicitly said you will be doing this baseline. But they left it up to everyone to self-attest. And it turns out that if you leave corporations to just pinky promise, you're not going to get good results because they save a lot more money by lying to you. So now we have mandatory inspections coming down the pipe. And this is where I've gotten my business to after years of floating around various D&D groups. And I've seen how everyone lives and works and what they are and aren't doing, and their corporate partners, as we touched on them. I'm a big fan of this. I think this is absolutely 100% necessary. And it's like watching health inspectors show up to the restaurants for the first time.
Interesting.
We're going to have inspectors showing up to verify you've done your security work, but then you get to pick up government contracts, and this is going to be it's the price of entry now. Is that if you want a D&D or DoD contract, you want that money, you are going to have to qualify yourself first. And so we're probably about to watch the single biggest shrinkage of the defense industrial base since the infamous Last Supper in '93, when they had there was a lot more big prime contractors, and then a lot of them got swallowed up and bought each other out and consolidated down to the ones we know today: the Raytheons, the Lockheeds, the Boeings. Yeah, so they became very good at winning contracts, not necessarily innovating or delivering good effect. But the system we had them under didn't care about that. It cared about winning the contracts and doing the right things and a lot of paperwork. And in a peacetime system, that was very important for them. That everyone had all the paperwork done.
Interesting.
So see how it pans out now with everyone having to prove their work. It will hopefully actually open up, um, make it more competitive, bring easier to get innovative products into defense
Nice.
as we sort that out. Like we're currently like all year it's in the news, and everyone in Ottawa talks about it, about how to get innovators in the door, how to sell to government, how do you get access when traditionally it has been just these prime contractors because they
Yeah.
have a team of people
Sure.
just ready to work a bid, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, well, these having yourself certified, ready to do the work, gets you that distinction to start, and then from there, you have a well, hopefully a more viable way to sell your product,
Hmm.
and hopefully that'll bring us interesting capabilities.
So to sort of maybe put this out here, may be a little bit bold in saying this, but you're looking essentially to have companies work with you, or rather, you work with them to bring up those standards so that they're able to come to the table, bid on contracts with full confidence that from that cybersecurity perspective, they're ready to go, and essentially they've proven things out a bit as far as if there is ever an audit, or God forbid if there's like an insurance incident or something, they at
Mhm.
least are better prepared for when that time comes, in just addressing whatever the issues might be. So that's essentially you're open for other companies to come and work with you on this. Is that correct? Or
Yes, absolutely. So
awesome.
that is what I'm transitioning now in this CMMC, or Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. It's
Mm-hmm.
the American side,
Right.
or the CPCSC, or Canadian Program for Cybersecurity Certification,
Okay.
both of which are a mouthful. So the acronyms will uh, be handy, but it's what those programs are meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very much on board on trying to get people up and ready for them,
Mm-hmm.
because you give them that edge, right?
Okay.
And the more Canadians we can get ready for either program, um, will help our defense industrial base accelerate and start getting those smaller players ready to participate.
Right. Right. Andy, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. Did you have any parting shots before we break? Or I'm putting you on the spot here. No
Yeah.
worries if you don't got anything. It's all good. But
Whether if you've got any young people in your life and they are interested in technology,
mm-hmm.
uh, do whatever you can to support them. Show them the various types of jobs and roles out there.
Mm-hmm.
Do some research, help them out. I would highly recommend, still, I know it's had its ups and downs, but I would highly recommend joining the reserves. It was a great experience overall. You will often be frustrated, but you are learning valuable things the entire time.
Nice, nice. It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
A pleasure.